give a big warm welcome to Mr. Robert Kurtzman, everybody!
How's everybody doing today?
Great to have you here. Thank you. We're very excited to have you out here. I think what's exciting about cons in general is the celebration of all the art forms that we go through. So we've got comic books, we've got actors and things like that, but then we have awesome people like yourself, directors, story writers, and special effects artists. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how's Chicago been? This is your first day here, right?
No, we got in Thursday.
Okay, nice.
We got friends here, so we crashed at their house and then came over. So.
Excellent, excellent. And you're largely in part for the, I know the Bruce Campbell Horror Fest part of that.
Yeah, it's old friends week.
Getting together with all the cast and the creatives and stuff. Cool. I'm sure we'll have some questions from the audience in a sec for you, but I always love to get started. I always find it interesting sort of hearing the origins and what sort of got you into the special effects industry to start and how that sort of began.
Well, I got into the business when I was 19. I grew up in Ohio. It's where I live now. I used to live in LA for like 20 years and then bailed out of LA. Now I live in Ohio. I have my studio there. I grew up in the 70s and watching late night horror host shows and getting the horror bug, watching Ghoulardi and Big Chuck and Little John, and staying up every Friday night just to watch a horror film, and just got really into monsters and Ray Harryhausen movies and all that kind of stuff, and kind of got interested in how they were making all that stuff. And Famous Monsters magazine was out, so used to go help friends at a paper route back when they actually had paper delivery boys instead of like a car that drove around doing it, and save up our money just to buy Famous Monsters and Fangoria magazine when I was a kid. So and that's I started following all the artists that Dick Smith, Rick Baker, Stan Winston, Roy Ashton, the guy who does the British films, the Hammer movies, and just started following what they were doing, and then realized, hey, there's an industry here, can actually do this stuff for a living.
Yeah. We hit it at a prime time for sure, like you said with all
I was
these guys.
very lucky to have started in the 80s during the boom, right as it was starting to take off, after The Howling and movies like American Werewolf and stuff came out, and suddenly there was like this kind of the special it was makeup, but it was special. It had a combination of animatronics and some bladders and puppetry. And at that point, there was just all the movies that I was lucky enough to have worked on. A lot of the sequels to the movies I grew up on, like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, or whatever. But Nightmare came out kind of right when I moved. It was like 83. It was like 84 or something like it came out. I can't remember, but it was. Just when I got out to LA, and that kicked in. But I was a big fan of Wes Craven, from his early movies, and lucky enough, even John Carver was able to work with these guys, which was really cool. I was kind of a big geek then too. I was like, oh my God, John Carver's coming to the shop today, working out. So
Awesome. And had you had any formal training before these movie opportunities came along, or was it sort of self-taught, or?
No, I went to art school. There's a CCAD in Columbus, Ohio, Columbus College of Art and Design. I got out of high school and went there for a year, and then dropped out to move to LA to do effects because they really weren't training me for any of that. It was kind of like a traditional art school, oil painting and sculpting and stuff, but not. They didn't have anything specific to makeup at that time.
Right.
So I went out to LA and went to a school called Joe Blasco's, which is still around, but at that time it was mainly beauty, and then they had a small effects program. So I learned what I could from that, and then jumped into working with a guy named John Carle Biegler, and we worked on all these movies for Empire Pictures at the time. A couple of real good gems like The Animator, but most of them were like Troll and Terror Vision, Eliminator, Gorgeous, College, whatever. It's like those kind of movies.
And is this when you guys were K&B, or is this before
this
that?
This is before K&B.
Gotcha.
It was about 5 years of freelancing, and that's where I met Howard Gregg and all the other artists that we came up in business with. We all juggled from shop to shop. One month we're at Stan Winston's for a couple, movies like Predator, and we did Predator, Aliens, and Invaders from Mars remake with Toby Hooper. And those were, we'd be there, and then suddenly, that job's starting to end, so we're trying to book our next job, and we're, it's over to Night of the Creeps at Dave Miller's, or we would just juggle all over the place.
Cool.
And then eventually started K&B, and then we just had everything going in-house.
Yeah, yeah. So, was there a moment, you mentioned sort of having those nerd moments, or those, was there one that sticks out? Was it like when you touched Freddy's, prosthetic for the first time, or where you're like, oh man, this is cool, like I'm in the biz and I'm doing stuff that I love,
Yeah, I mean, the first time I was on set for Nightmare on Elm Street was the Dream Warriors, third film, and I got to meet Robert for the first time on that, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wow, it's Freddy, And then after that, I started working with Robert. I did a movie with him, 976 Evil,
right.
And over the years, I've just known him now so long. Over the years, we worked together quite a bit. So, but yeah, John Carver was probably the biggest.
Yeah. And that was which Halloween was that you were working?
It wasn't. It was Body Bags for Showtime that we did. That was our first movie with John, but then we went on to do, Vampires Go to Mars, Village of the Damned, but he came to the shop. We were doing In the Mouth of Madness with him, and he came by the shop. Of course, I had all my posters of Holmes, and my Assault on Precinct 13 poster. Please, John, can you sign it? And he's just, I tried to. That was really the only time I really got at that stuff. It was then. Now I kind of don't do that. I won't bring stuff to set anymore to have. So I'm kind of working with them, so it's kind of weird.
Well, you've gotten to yourself, you're on a level, akin to those guys, you know what I mean, where you've set a legacy for yourself, and now people are coming to you for autographs.
Well, the big problem is usually people give you a stack of stuff. Hey, when you go on set, can you get it? I go, that's really the last thing I want to do. I was directing, but.
Who, out of all those sort of early influential horror directors, was there one that stuck out? I mean, you mentioned John Carver, one that was like your favorite to work with?
Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
And I still really enjoy standing behind Sam when he's on set and watching what he does. It's just great to watch him work. Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are probably the two favorite projects, just experience-wise, that I've ever had, because it was just this family unit of people and Bruce. I mean, we've been friends ever since then. And it's just great because every once in a while we're on the same project again, working, and it's like family week again.
Yeah. Well, that's why this has got to be a fun week for you.
This is. I haven't seen half those people.
Yeah, they're all
from Evil Dead in a while, so.
Big reunion going on, so. Cool, awesome. Gentlemen, up to the mic. What's your question?
What was your inspiration for Dusk Till Dawn? It's like one of the most wild movies ever. Every time it's on, I gotta watch it.
Yeah, that's great question.
Well, I came up with that. It was originally supposed to be this, $1 million movie. It's like low, but I was trying to make a movie I could isolate in one setting, kind of like Assault on Precinct 13, and so that we could keep the costs down and everything. And the title actually came from, there used to be a drive-in outside my town, and they would have From Dusk Till Dawn all-night movies. So you get 5 movies in a row. Of course, we load up the beer in the station wagon. A bunch of us underage kids trying, sneaking out. And we'd watch all 5 movies. And, usually like Night of the Living Dead, and it'd be like Lucio Fulci Zombie or something like that. And then some really bad movies like Blood Beach or something. And we would just, hang out and get drunk, stay up all night and watch movies. And so that From Dusk Till Dawn drive-in idea, or at least the title was the inspiration for Dusk. Other than that, I just wanted to try to do a wild ride and have a movie that starts out kind of like The Getaway or something, and then it transitions into a vampire film, which is one of the problems. I mean, it took us 10 years to get that off the ground, because even after Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction and with Quentin's name on it, the structure of that script was so odd that nobody would finance it, And they're like, it's not a normal 3-act structure. It's kind of just goes off on its own.
There's like a first act and then, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, what the hell? But it took Robert becoming interested in it. And, he had some heat coming off of Desperado and El Mariachi. And once he got wind of it and liked the script, everything changed now. So they took a risk, financing the film and put it out. So, which was great. I mean, it turned into a bigger movie at that point because, $1 million is what I was planning on trying to raise, Suddenly it's a $17 million movie.
No Kickstarter back then.
Yeah, there's no Kickstarter.
How early in the process did you meet or get involved? When was he in it the whole way, or when did you start really kind of screenwriting that?
Me and a friend, John Esposito, wrote Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. Hired him to do the script. He had written other scripts, but he hadn't been ever paid to write a script.
Gotcha.
He had written originals, like his writing samples that he gave me were True Romance, Reservoir Dogs, and Natural Born Killers. So I got these scripts and went, oh yeah, this guy should write the vampire movie. So at that point, Quentin was still working at this video store.
Yep.
And trying to get a gig going. And so I was lucky enough to be the first person to ever pay him to write this thing. So
it's cool hearing those stories, with artists like that in the early days, and how these links, that may never happen, and now we're down the road here.
And then of course K&B still does all their stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's great. Back in the early days, we were just a bunch of geeks. Quentin would come over to the shop and geek out over the monster stuff, and then we just sit in there and have a few beers and go over movie ideas.
Yeah.
It's like,
That's cool. That's cool to hear. Yeah, question.
Hi. I was wondering if, with a lot of the more epic movies and going more digital effects, green screens, things like that, your company K&B is more practical effects. Has there been any push and pull with movie productions and working that you had to fight going digital, or just kind of integrate as little as possible?
It's gone up and down. I mean, there's a lot of filmmakers that like to embrace a combination of things. Back when Jurassic Park was going into production, they originally started that with stop motion animation, and then they switched over to the CG after they saw the tests. Those tests circulated on VHS, like through all the effect shops in town. We got them, we put them on, everybody stood around the TV and went, watch the dinosaur running down, in the forest, and we were all like, holy crap, we're done.
Yeah.
We were like, that's the end of big monster, practical monster movies. That's what kind of happened with the big stuff. It didn't affect makeup effects for a long time. Digitally now they're enhancing things, and digitally there's a place for it. I mean, when you want to try to remove half a guy's skull and have it be the actor, it's now you get the performance there, and you can digitally you can enhance the makeup effect.
Yeah.
Where before we'd have to use a puppet head or try to lip sync something. It gets really expensive and time consuming to try to do that stuff. And anymore, the productions have shorter schedules. So it's like the R&D period that we used to have back in the 80s is now like, it's like everything has to be done in 4 to 6 weeks, and it's crazy. So the whole production, even the shooting of a movie is so much quicker than it used to be.
Right.
Back then you'd have 3 months to shoot a movie, or like Evil Dead, we shot over an entire summer, Evil Dead 2, in North Carolina, and now that project would be 20 days.
Yeah.
24 days you have to shoot it. So.
But I feel like you've, and she mentioned it a little bit, I feel like K&B and Creature Core have embraced sort of that idea of comedy, and that's coming back, which is great, because I think there was a chunk in the early 2000s where it was all about everything digital, because we can do this, we can swoop in and matrix change.
We can make everything look like a cartoon.
Yeah.
No, the people doing it now, like J.J. Abrams is doing it with a new Star Wars movie, and of course Star Trek has a lot of practical characters in it, and a few CG ones, and Guillermo del Toro does it. Even though it's like this new movie, Crimson Peak, all the elements of the ghosts are practical. They're not CG. He shot actual stuff, creatures, but they're optical composites.
Right.
So And of course, compositing has changed. I mean, that's a great thing now compared to back in the day when it was a film process. Is, you know, instead of using an optical printer and having to print every one of those elements, so like a Star Wars movie would have 500 optically printed elements, you know. Where now they do it on the computer, and it's so much better as far as you don't see matte lines, you know.
Right.
So there's definitely a place for it. It's a great tool, and it just, I think some filmmakers get lazy, going, you know, okay, I don't need to figure this scene out. I just need to shoot a plate, and then I'll worry about what the monster looks like in post, or the whatever creature.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see, like you said, with J.J. Abrams and stuff, the creature effects coming back, you know, because I think there was a lot of backlash from fans over certain monsters, we don't have to name specific ones, in movies, you know, and being did not coming off as people wanted it, not being realistic. And
how many people saw the new Poltergeist movie? Unfortunately. Yeah, see, you know, that the original has all those great makeup effects that Craig Reardon did.
Yep.
And the coffins pop out at the end, they have real props.
Yeah.
And stuff, you know, and it was way cooler. And then this one's like, they pop open and out comes a video game skeleton, you know, and I'm like, oh man, did they blow it on this?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it should be there to enhance, you know, not take the place of, so. And motion capture helped that a lot too, I think, you know, in terms of not removing the actor as well.
Yeah, for the performance.
Yeah. Awesome, yeah.
Hi, Robert. I wanted to ask you, what was your most elaborate special effects, and then what was the least elaborate? Like, I guess
Least
ours.
elaborate. Well, most elaborate would probably it would be an overall show, like From Dusk Till Dawn, where there's so much work and so many different characters in it, like an Army of Darkness or something. I guess the most complicated thing we've done would probably be the Violator in Spawn, because it was a hydraulic, computer-controlled creature with puppeteers and everything, and it, you know, was like 12 feet tall, and it would rise up on this machine. And, so that was probably the hardest thing we ever did. The least complicated would probably be Mark Wahlberg's penis in Boogie Nights. It was very simple.
Was there a meeting about the length of that? There was a whole...
There was actually, and you know, we had Paul Thomas Anderson would come to the shop, and of course this is the only thing we're doing in this movie. You know? And it's like, and everybody's like, you did that? But, so yeah, we would have, like, we had all this John Holmes reference plastered throughout the shop, on the wall, you know, and the sculptor's sitting there, you know. And we made it, initially he said, make it like John Holmes. So then, of course, they come in and see it and they go, oh, it's way too big. And I go, that's what it is. It's like, you should make it like this. So it gradually got whittled down.
From giant animatronics to the life of...
It's funny, we were just watching John Dies at the end the other night, and we had to do a penis for that too. So the wardrobe changes into it. So it's kind of funny. It's like every once in a while, this comes up.
It comes up.
The trick is trying to figure out who's gonna, you know, flip the coin of who's applying this. Like flip the coin. I'm not doing it.
Trust us. Yeah.
Okay, Robert, what would you consider like the worst thing you've done for your job?
The worst thing as a job, or worse?
Yeah, like the worst thing he's made, or sort of the biggest
worst
obstacle
thing he's made.
The worst thing you've ever made. What a weird question.
I don't know. I mean, I've worked on like the worst movie. I don't know. It was like I did a film called Dr. Hackenstein. I don't even think. And I mean, it had its perks and it had its, you know. We made a parrot for it that was just horrible. We just like kind of just went, oh my god, that's the worst thing we ever made.
It's like animatronic parrot.
Yeah, but it was this like boogity Frankenstein parrot. But then the perks for that were that, you know, we got to go apply makeups on a Playboy Playmate every day. So we were like, yeah. Call up friends.
Flip the coin. It's
Yeah.
different than the flip.
Hey, who's going to set today?